So thank you, Scott. That was quite fabulous. I actually remember Lawrence Paul's VR piece at the Banff New Media Institute. It was this huge contraption which we had to get behind to see it. Yes. There you go. Oh, yeah, and it was, there you go, and it was like this big thing, right? And now today it's just like putting on these little, anyway, thank you, Scott. Your work is really, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about it, and particularly that sort of temporal connection and the connection with, place, land, memory. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the next part of our proceedings, and it's which is really going to be about how we address the questions that came up or the things that you did in your breakout groups. And it's my great pleasure to introduce Niranjan Rajah. Apart from several degrees, with the latest being an MFA from Goldsmiths College in London. He's served in various capacities as faculty in different institutions and organizations. He's also a practicing artist, with the most recent work of his being shown at the Singapore Biennale in 2016, and he's also part of the KL Biennale in 2017. And his work, installation performance, is also part of Home in the Expanded Field at Courtyard Hero in Tokyo this year. But Niranjan, I met initially in Vancouver when he first arrived there, and we since have collaborated on various projects. I invited him to sit on a peer assessment at one of the new media juries at Canada Council for the Arts when I was working there many eons back. And since then, we have, continued a conversation, talked about, many things, and some of the things that, or a lot of the things that we're talking about today's forum or today and the symposium. So Niranjan has the grand task of bringing together everything that occurred in the breakout sessions, and we are going to look at what that is, and then Niranjan is going to sort of speak to it, and I think we're going to find it's going to be very interesting, and I think will lead to more conversations during the panels. So please welcome Niranjan Rajah.
I was going to say good morning, but it's actually 12:05, so I don't know what to say. It's hardly been the afternoon. But welcome, and thank you to everyone, especially Zainab, for having me here. It's particularly exciting to be here with people that I've known in so many different ways. So, I have 40 minutes, and I'm going to take my time getting to these questions. I'm going to start with a little bit of an introduction to continue Zainab's work of introducing me, not so much as to sort of blow my own trumpet, which I'm sure I'm doing as well, but to explain, to personalize this relationship with art, technology, and to acknowledge that I'm actually coming to this forum from my position, and we're all doing that and trying to integrate our positions into a collective process and maybe even some findings. So, Vancouver, my home for the last 16 years, I'm amazed to say. And old and new friends are here. Zainab, not from Vancouver when I was there, although she was before. I met in Vancouver when I organized the New Forms Festival. Mohammed Salemi, we miss you so much on Main and Broadway. I know you've done amazing things since, but database was a wonderful part of life before the gentrification, which is a key reference point, really, capital investment. It's part of this discussion. Database moved out. I don't know your reasons, but I imagine it's part of the movement out because of rents and costs. Yeah. So, but database was a wonderful place. My kids, we've still got cushions, art cushions that have lost their eyes and stuff that are from database. Leanne, there she is. Amazing pioneer of new media within the institutions in Vancouver, in Surrey. Tech Lab, just one small contribution amongst many, and still ongoing contributions to the art and life of Surrey. And new friends, Gordon and Sarah, from the New Media Gallery in New Westminster. So all, on the way to work, right, from Main Street through New West to Surrey, lots of new media connections over 16 years. And one person who's not here, I hope it's because he's not here yet, that I'm so excited about is Srinivas Krishna. Right? He is a hero of mine from before I even imagined living in Canada. Right? He's well, let's not say him because I don't know what he's been doing since, really, to be fair. His film is almost a pinnacle of achievement in the funding of media, Canadian funding of media, Masala. If you don't know it, you should. You should know. It's an amazing film. He gets these amazing performances out of Saeed Jaffrey and major actors and actresses, Zoha Segal, I think how you pronounce the name. And really, it kind of made me admire Canada, long before I had any intention of coming here. And the 16 years I've spent here since have confirmed some of this amazement, but also I'm surprised at what's lacking. Right? And some of what we're talking about today is because perhaps the engine that delivered these amazing multicultural spaces for creativity are diminishing today. And what can we do about it in this age of capital and media, this age of data? Right? So, a little bit more about me. I am somebody that began as an installation artist, just to put it in a nutshell. That's what I was doing at Goldsmiths. I moved out of painting, disgusted with the way painting was contextualized. My paintings were being contextualized in London. And I left Goldsmiths and London for a job in Malaysia, and I joined a university which was spearheading Mahathir Mohamad's then multimedia super corridor effort. We were ahead of all countries in Southeast Asia, even ahead of Singapore, for a short moment. And I went into this university and found technology, found the internet, 1996. Right? And I made a work that is still today considered the first work of internet art. It's a modest piece, but it's still the first work of internet art in Southeast Asia, and it's titled The Failure of Marcel Duchamp / Japanese Fetish even. And, it's just a little piece of something that happened to me. The internet happened to me. And I've had an on and off relationship with new media, and my present work has regressed a little. I work in photography and performance, but I cannot do it without the internet. My life, my network, the way the work is realized, the way my studio is live online, it's all to do with new media at the end of the day.
Everybody is worrying about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. the mystery be?
Anybody who knows masala would realize that this is for Srinivas. But as far away from the gallery as you can get, and as far away from the fucking internet as you can get in this world today. There's hardly any internet at Burning Man, which is where that was. So, context, right? I'm like giving this talk, but what's my locus standi? Let's see. So let me begin. I'll go through my ideas, try to layer on Mohammed's and Zainab's ideas, and then we'll come to your questions. And the mic will go around, because I'm not going to interpret your questions for you. I will articulate your questions with you, right? And then they'll become our questions for the rest of the proceedings. So, The Mathnawi by Rumi. Lawrence Binyon, I think in a 1908 painting in the Far East, retells a story from Rumi's Mathnawi, and it's about art. So the great Persian emperor, the center of the universe at the time, wanted to decorate his palace and invited the best artists in the world to come, and gave them a room each, a hall each. And they were the Chinese, of course, and the Greeks. And they came, and the Chinese painted the most amazing images of dragons and water and filled the space with beauty. The Greeks filled their room with the effort of cleaning, polishing, and emptying it out. They cleaned it and polished it till it shone like light itself. And of course, they won. The Greeks won. And ever since then, we've been stuck with it. We've been stuck with it, right? And we work in it. Now, the problem that we're here to address today is that throughout the course of the 20th century, this institution has remained a white cube when it should have been transitioning. And we'll talk about that, this trans, in a minute. But there is another story, this time from, I think, 1933. Japan ascendant, One Asia, Okakura, Kumaraswamy, Tanizaki. Nationalism, yes, but this is the colonial era. The Europeans are taking everything, and the Japanese want a slice of it. But their philosophers and theorists are much more benign than their politicians, and Tanizaki is kind of caught up in this traditionalism. Right? He's a traditionalist. Some say he was tongue-in-cheek, that the book is a parody, and I can see it, but still, here's the story. In a section of his book, In Praise of Shadows, Tanizaki articulates the difference between modernity and tradition in terms of another room, the lavatory. And he says that the beauty of the Japanese toilet is that it's dark, made of bamboo, it has natural odors in it, you can't see very clearly, it's a mysterious space, you do your business, the aromas blend, and the time passes, and you leave. The Western lavatory, however, is a shining white cube with a spotlight on the issue of your body. And as it's released, you observe the spectacle, and then you send it off on its way, retrieving the white cube. So here I think we have a call for something other than the gallery aesthetic, something more in the world, something more integrated, which he ascribes to tradition. Right? So this is a context for us. I'm just using it as the other kind of space that we find in art galleries, where you immerse yourself in a space between the image and your own being. This is what happens, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, people who are professionals in setting up these dark spaces, but in the black box, you get this mysterious fusion of the environment and the self, because you dematerialize the walls. You create, you dwell in the image. So much like the Chinese painting, we engage with imagery. Right? So why didn't we transition in the 20th century to more black boxes? There have been some efforts, some striking efforts in Surrey and New Westminster, but it's not the norm. The gallery is still the white cube. And sometimes they close the curtains and show a video exhibition. Right? So, or better still, an immersive something or the other. So, technology. We saw in both the talks a review of the history of this beast. And of course, that was just the recent tip. Technology has been developing with man, and apparently even, according to Jane Goodall, long before. And art has been there all along. Either before or after it serves its more functional instrumental purposes, art has been there to extricate the symbolic potential of technology, the making of meaning, which is what actually we're talking about, both of us, all of us, I think. And we're coming through various cycles, industrial, let's say pre-industrial, industrial, post-industrial, like using 19th century marker as the median. We've come now into this post-industrial information technology era, and tomorrow is today, and we don't really understand how that works. We know it works, we're part of it, but we don't understand, just as most of us don't understand what our pension plan's doing with our investments for the most crucial period of our lives, we don't really understand what Google is doing with our bio information. But we click accept and move on because we need the next app to look at babies' photos or something worse. Right? So, but we're quick with it. We accept because they give us something. This is now a reference, and not so oblique reference, to the corporate interests at play, the political aspect of technology, all eras. Of course, even the symbolic is instrumental, has always been, and thereby political. Yet there's something slightly more appealing when we work with symbols. We somehow raise it to a higher plane than when we work for material gain. So the technology of today is information technology. And much of what was spoken about was to do with the potential, the hazards, the implications, the ability of institutions and individuals to engage with this technology, the institutional inertias that prevent natural engagement with technology, vested interests. Rupert Murdoch versus print unions in the UK, in the context of Friedmanite economic policies, Thatcherite government, I'm sorry, England, part of my background and history, but we had an ideological clash. The idea that there's a natural level of unemployment. If business doesn't work, it has to shut down or the economy will fail. and ideological resistance. The print setters said no. Can you imagine how ridiculous it seems today? The guys that moved blocks, just typeset, said no on ideological grounds and justifiable grounds from their personal livelihoods. They said no, but they were smashed by that beast, whom we all despise, I hope. But he was right. Murdoch was right. What are the galleries and museums doing with the new technological era? Are we going to let the monsters that smash us down be right? Or are we going to adjust and adapt and move ahead at grassroots level with initiatives that actually work in the new technological idiom? There's no point talking about technology here if we don't also talk about art and have a sense of what it is to us, to me, to you. Right? So, what is it? Is that mic around? I'm going to push this back. I'm going to ask for, where's that mic? So, what can we say? How can we answer this question? I have my ideas, but please try, or please offer.
I mean, people might disagree, but I think art is a form of technology, but it's a highest form of technology. Scholars in the new field of archaeology of technology not only confirm what you said, that the history of technology dates back to animals, but in this sort of like compressed and linearly put together, they put the development of art and actually political propaganda in the same category as these highest forms of complex cognitive technologies, which somehow act like a trap. And
a trap.
And
Yes.
traps themselves belong to this trajectory because traps were the automation of hunting.
Okay.
But the development of trap was very important because it's sort of like it allowed the early humans to basically automate and use nature basically and create an environment for the animal that looked like home and capture them.
Okay. So now this kind of puts a spoke in my wheel, because I was going to say art is a gift, like that's my piece was all about art as a ritual, sacred gift, Burning Man, the Hindu idea of anugraham, whatever. But art is also a trap, it seems, because as you say, I agree, at the highest sacred Benetton symbolic level, that is what shapes the reality that we occupy as a society, our art. And so even in its symbolic aspect, it's instrumental as a trap, it seems, right? Of course, between these two positions, art as a gift, where you're going to pay for art, you want to ask for money for your art, what's wrong with you? Just make your art and die. Let it be, give it out. Right? On the other hand, it's like you might be doing that like Van Gogh, but look where Van Gogh's work stands and what it symbolizes at the meta level today. Power, ownership, Japan, ascendancy of such and such corporation, right? Corruption, evil. I won't mince my words, like art is in cahoots with evil today. The market, which we'll come to in a minute. But actually bouncing off your abstracts, I thought it would be important to talk about a median function of art between this gift and this trap. Art as the site of knowledge. So Maharaj and yourself, I think you were talking about knowledge in brackets in your abstract. Meaning. So meaning, knowledge, art as a site for production of this. I think in a way, here we come to the true function of these spaces. Intended function, ideal function, long usurped by other instrumentalities. One's as simple and prosaic as like people keeping their jobs, right? We'll come to the era of the demise of glam, and in a minute, there's a slide for that. But in a country like Canada, you can hold on much longer than in the UK or the United States. You're gone, buddy, if you're not useful, you're not profitable. But in Canada, no, because the state holds these things up, vested interest, votes. Yeah. The last communist country in the world, not China or Russia, We have a medical plan that proves it. Canada is the last communist country in the world. And we have the strengths and weaknesses of that kind of structure. So, art as a site of production of knowledge. Here we get a little bit heavy. Epistemology. Traditional, modern, and information epistemologies. So I'm going to read from a book I've been reading for like 30 years. And I still don't get all of it, or even half of it. This is Time and Eternity by Ananda Coomaraswamy. And it's kind of like a life's work for me, just reading this book. It's enough if I get through it. If I'm given the time to master what's here, I will be happy. But in this book, which is really about metaphysics and ontology, space and time, in all the traditions of the world, from the Greeks to the Buddhists to the modern Western notions of it, Coomaraswamy makes an aside, a gloss, a footnote, to articulate notions of knowledge, to explain why there's confusion about time and space in modern thinking. And he says this: the Vedantic and Buddhist distinction of empirical knowledge, valid for practical purposes, and probable, on the one hand, from the intellectually valid and axiomatic truth of first principles, is the same as that of opinion from truth. Empirical equals opinion. First principles equals truth. Axiomatic knowledge versus empirical knowledge. This is in Greek philosophy, in Vedantic philosophy, right? In both, opinion corresponds to becoming, and truth to being. Of course, you don't have to buy this stuff, right? Brahma, being, stillness versus motion, becoming, evolving in time and space. Yeah, don't need that, right? We just need a job and know how things work. That's the history of Western civilization, right? After the Greeks. Make things work, right? Okay. But even in the middle of these developments, Western philosophers and scholars had held the older view. So, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but I think it's Leibniz. Leibniz offers this echo of the older ideas. There are two forms of intuition, one giving the truth of fact, the other the truth of reason. And this echoes Democritus, who is known to have said, two forms of knowledge, respectively bastard and legitimate. The former reached by the senses, empirical knowledge, and the latter, intelligible reason. Right? So this idea that, what's your research methodology? Where's your data? How do you prove it? Just close your eyes and reflect, do the math. You don't have to reach out and touch. So there's two kinds of knowledge. We seem to have moved from the ancient and the Greek ideal knowledge to the modern empirical knowledge. Now we're in the zone of data. What is that? Where does it go? I think maybe Salemi and Mohammed and I may have a different sense of it. I'm not sure. To me, what has happened here is that we've moved from a priori, the extreme of this mode of knowledge is Brahma, through its demise into the modern era of the Enlightenment, Renaissance Enlightenment, to empirical reality. The moon is there because we went there. It's there. Okay. Now to this data realm where we are from a priori knowledge at the extreme end of a posteriori knowledge, after the fact. The data has it all. It's almost like going to the astrologer as a Tamil, Hindu, whatever. My uncle, your sister's going to have, your daughter's going to have an accident in this period. Be careful. None of my family believes in it, but it happened. It's in the stars. It's in the data. What the hell? Where have we come? Okay. Knowledge. Market. In the meantime, these fuckers are just like eating the whole thing up. Singapore Biennale. Really proud to be there. Only to realize that it's a tributary of the art fair. That's all it is. Singapore wants the bucks from the art business, from the art storage, where all the dirty money gets put into art and it's stored in Singapore and invest, in earthquake-proof, economy-proof lockers. Because the dollar's going to go, man. You're still holding in dollars, Canadian dollars. Put it in art. Now there's Bitcoin, so maybe art or Bitcoin. Right? Get rid of that property downtown. Forget it. Singapore's got the storage if it's art that you choose. That's why I got to be in the Singapore Biennale with my stupid cowboy shit. You can sense that. You can sense that. You're just a sideshow. So that's the market and media. So oh my God, my clock stopped. How long have I been going? Time. Okay, I'm just going to go. So, media. Two important definitions, and it dovetails into what Muhammad said from Manovich, which I have taken notes on. What is media? What is new media? Come on, let's jump. What is new media? New media, according to Crosby, is interactive media. Let's make it simple. This is a communications model, interactive communication. You send and receive rather than you just send. A conversation is one-to-one. Television is one-to-many. The internet is many-to-many. Right? So this is the newness of media from a communicational perspective. But that's not, in fact, we had a little bit of a bias in these two presentations towards the communication model. What about representation? Media, its initial function is representation. The paintings at Lascaux, the traps for the mind that were representation, symbols, right? So Manovich offers lots of ideas around this, but what I want to move on quickly is to his last tertiary aspect of his theory, it's the notion of transcoding. So media is what we make our representations in. In digital technology, we can make it, we can archive it, we can annotate it, we can distribute it all in the same medium. You don't have to write a letter and then put it on the pony saddlebag to get it across. It's boom, it's all in one medium. We have multimedia. We have painting, sculpture, writing, calculation, all on the same idiom of calculation, al-Khwarizmi, right? Algorithms. It's from Iraq, by the way. It's such an irony when those bombs were going into Baghdad. That's an important point, right? Who invented algorithms and what happened to them today? Who invented tagging, cataloging? It's a digression. Oh, it's not. I'm in media. Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, a Tamil fellow, a librarian. I think he was a Tamil, anyway. I like to think of him as a Tamil. An Indian, anyway. And he developed what runs the archive, the database, the internet, Google. He invented the system, the 5 laws, and so on. What's happened to his discipline today? Libraries. My wife's a librarian, so I can speak with knowledge of the practicalities of trying to work in this field, the economic realities of trying to be a librarian today. Right? So, GLAM puts you together, and as I keep saying, we'll get to that. So, important to come back to this idea the other idea from Manovich, data is generated, data is collected, data is analyzed. I don't know what Manovich says, and I would like to add, if he hasn't said it, that what's important is who owns it. It's not the people who generate it. The people who analyze it are us. I'm at the School of Interactive Art and Technology, CIAT. We do pioneers in visual analytics. We're just paid workers. The guys that collect it, it seems, are the owners today. Right? And the class system it peaks in the middle. There's 1, 2, 3. It's like the Olympic gold, silver, bronze podium. Right? The guys in the middle are the boss. Right? So that's media. Okay. So I've already spoken about this. You guys are in trouble, real trouble. Right? At least we artists are always in trouble, right? Until we make it big. That's the life of the artist. But the institution, especially in Canada, Canada Council for the Arts and all that, sorry, La Zainab, it's gone. Those days are gone, but you're out of it too, right? Or you're on the edge of it. You're like, where are you? You know, the Association of Art Galleries. What is that the market? Is that public? Well, the whole thing is shrinking in a way, that Canadian model, and that's why we're here trying to figure it out. At least get some black boxes in each gallery before the whole thing goes. Watch some videos. Vito Aconci, how can you live in today's world if you don't know Vito Aconci? Theme song. We need a theme song for data. We need a theme song for analytics. We need it. We need it. And we haven't got it yet. We can't see it enough. We've not got a visionary that can see how Aconci saw video. This is too big now. Maybe it's beyond. So I've gone quite far. I'm going to jump. I've done that. Here we are. I'm sorry, I should have left a little more time. In fact, I'm going to push for more time if I can. I have 5 minutes. Oops. How did that happen? That's like, okay, here we are. So, I hope actually that by indulging in my own position, I've answered or set up a framework, because I'm not trying to answer them, I'm trying to frame them for further discussion, right? So we had 4 sets of questions and observations that came from the floor. From artistic practices, we had the idea of obsolescence. Even my own early internet work is gone. I haven't taken care partly, but it doesn't make sense. One of the key ideas was slow download. Where's the slow download now? We got like bandwidth like that. So I was using the slow download that we were experiencing to make the work. So there's no way. You have to simulate it in video to make it. Like, gone, right? It's gone. Never mind, it doesn't exist anymore. But it can't exist anymore. That's the point. So the future proofing, it's not possible, I think, but this is a discussion. Maybe you can save it, archive it, simulate it. The question contains the answer. Value. I think that it has intrinsic value, but it's monetary, financial, all that is like, I've been criticizing that for most of my talk, right? Defining art versus technology, the vertical and the horizontal. We have a problem now because the monkey is like not sticking the stick in the hole and getting the ants. It's not clear anymore. The process might be taking over the art, and we can't see which is which. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we're dinosaurs and the meteorite actually struck 25 years ago. Maybe, okay. Defining art versus technology, documenting and archiving practices. I think that's a little bit of an echo. What does the future hold? Collections and exhibitions. What is known and understood as practice? So this is like, I think there are experts here who are doing this, who are displaying and have been displaying for 25 and more years. There are people here who are doing it now. With the current state of the art, it's being displayed. So we have the possibility to explore this further with the experts. Obsolescence is a repeated theme. That's the main observation about this word. Apparently it's a real word, obsolescence. obsolescence, I would say. Collection mandates. So is the government even keeping its art, Zainab? We had a thread. The government is like, the representatives of the state are selling off the art, it seems, without due process. So what is collection? What's been collected? What's not? What can we collect today? Digital space versus physical space. I had a slide for space. This is the ontological question. And I think, Mohammed, you already said, like implied, we don't need it. We need institutional development in the new hybrid space. And that hybrid space is both informational, communicational, and representational. So VR, mixed reality, the gallery and not the gallery, the wall and not the wall, and communication space, what you talked about. These hybrid spaces are there. We need better history, I think this means. We need things to last and to be understood, not just forgotten. And how do we ensure that happens? Like my work, nobody knows in Malaysia except a few at that period. It wasn't just my work. We developed a whole eArt ASEAN, database and portal, and it's gone. Nobody cares, right? So diversity. So we touched on that, and analytics may have a good side. It may bring us back to diversity. Audiences. Okay, this one I need the mic. Who brought that up, and what does it mean?
Satirical. Because the follow-up was that there's an actual physicality to be in a wonderful building, and while it's so useful to have the digital resources, there's also a physical thing, and that we didn't address it, so that's why I said that.
The previous speakers? Oh, sorry. This forum hasn't addressed it? Was it satirical in that sense?
I guess we aren't addressing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we will and we can. I think a lot of people here actually run the physical spaces that allow these hybrid events to happen. So we can ask them about the challenges and the future and the rent, particularly, right? Physical space in Canada, in urban Canada? What are you talking about? Will the internet become a democracy? Forget that one. How can visitors participate? I'm being facetious. That's an important question. How can visitors participate in curatorial practice? Forget that one. What visitors in curatorial practice? But that's your point, right? It's already happening. It's already happening in the real world. The gallery world doesn't know. Online, in spaces that Mohammed was talking about. I think the like, that's curation. The expert, the middleman is gone. All my knowledge, they don't care anymore in Malaysia, like the arts. I built a bit of that history in the period that I was there. I find, I've been away for 16 years, it doesn't matter as long as you like it. Literally like it. It's not only art. Expertise. And the connoisseur, to put a snigger to that word, the expert, is not that important anymore. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe not. Right? I think that personalized visitation and tools, subjective experiences, that's the, yeah.
Connoisseurship now emerges out of virality. So once you become popular, you're an influencer, but you first have to gain enough traction in order to then put it back into the system.
The stats tell the truth, not Greenberg, it's the stats. It's not Greenberg. Forget Greenberg-Pollock relationship. It's the likes. That's it. And is that more crazy than Jackson Pollock? Some old, bald guy that, had a lot of issues with philosophy, said it's Greenberg. It's Pollock. and it's Pollock for us. So now at least we have a democratic viral process of idiots clicking like buttons. Is it worse? Accessibility and accommodations, this is a perennial problem, a serious problem, and as the space squeezes down, access for the fringes will be harder and harder. So how do we open that up? And last slide, I know I'm over, but okay, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I've studied it, I've worked in it. I'm the artist. Trust me, it's my art. I know what I'm talking about. So a little anecdote. I do a performance thing. So my work is multi-layered. There's the performance, there's the photograph, then there's the event, there's the artifact, there's the performance again. So one of my pieces is a cowboy shirt in which my mother performed a ritual which was broken onto an event like this without announcement. It was like a slightly disturbing thing. And we made an art piece. The art piece was collected by the National Gallery, and they're showing it in a retrospective, and I happened to be there. So I said, oh, great, I'm going to go back with my mom and renew it, do the ritual on the shirt again, right? Because we put Chandanam and Kungumam on the shirt to bless and announce its new status as a piece of art. And they wouldn't let me touch my own shirt. I said, fuck it, I'll buy you a new one. It's like $120. So no, this belongs to the National Art Gallery. This is the process. Really? So my mom came and we did it in front of the shirt. We did some nonsense instead. And we took a photo. But the symbol there is this very point. Who owns the art? And it's clear in the law who owns the art. It's not the artist. The moment they fund you for it, before you even hand it over, you can. It's like a movie. Be real. Huh? Oh, Bansky, that's another. Let's talk about Bansky. But think of movie directors. It belongs to someone else from the beginning. Knowledge gap between art and media art is expensive. You need money to make it. Where's the money coming from? What are they giving it to you for? What do they want to see? What do you want to do? Come on, artists are compromised from day one, right? From Medici to the Persian king. The artists are compromised. So trust me, yes, but, okay. Knowledge gap between artists and institution. This is really interesting. I think we don't understand what's going on. The institutions don't understand it. The artists don't understand. There's gaps within gaps proliferating. Maybe more of this should happen so that these gaps are closed. I think that's what's meant there. There's also the expertise gap. More training, but do you really want to learn how it works? Just give me somebody that can do it, and I'll make that amazing piece by Lawrence Paul. Does he care about how VR works? To make it work, he made a piece. A very important piece. Is it important that gap is filled? Manovich would say yes. People in my arts in SIAT would say yes, because the idiom is now, the transcoded idiom is now digital, it's code. If you're not making code, you're not the artist, somebody else. That process is horizontal now. Okay, so that gap. Infrastructure for the artists, bringing all the life support with them. Some help with that one? Whose is that? Who can help with that one? Infrastructure for the artists, life support. Is that the kind of help the artist make the digital work, or just give him some money and let him get on with it, or what? So infrastructure, digital, yeah, okay, obsolescence everywhere. Everybody's worried about that, but we're going to be obsolete too. Don't worry about it. Let's just go with the flow. But I'd like to revive my work from '96 and have it working somehow. And I just haven't bothered because I don't have the previous point, the support system to do it, right? So, yeah. Understanding the direction, we don't know. So this is everybody's problem, where are we going to go after this one? And the same with technology, the directions. It seems that we can guess. My gauge is, where's the money going to take us? The money is concentrating, and it's not a good scenario for me, but there's some more utopian, more hopeful visions around as well. Investment, internal. So I guess investing in learning, lifelong learning, all these jargons from the information age, and external, I guess that's institutional learning. I'm not sure. I'm sorry for those whom I spoke for and over. Obviously, you would have meant something quite different. Quite likely, you might have meant something quite different. And I hope that the structure will allow and enable much more engagement and response from the floor as we go along. So that's my presentation, at least 5 minutes over, I think. Thank you.